When your muscles cramp, it can feel like they're just trying to escape from under your skin. It hurts, and it's hard to control them. But why do cramps happen in the first place? As a physical therapist who's helped a lot of athletes get back to the sports they love, I've seen my fair share of cramps, because no one wants to be stuck in that state for too long. Today I'm gone? Tell you exactly what happens to your muscles when they cramp, so that you can better understand these sometimes debilitating episodes. If you stick around till the end, I'll also share with you one tip to help make the cramping go away faster now. There are many causes for muscle cramps, and we'll talk about those in just a second. So eventually the muscle cells run out of energy, and the gradient that's responsible for helping the proteins slide past each other breaks down. If you push your muscles hard enough for a long enough period of time, your body will release molecules that cause your muscles to grab onto more calcium. Like I mentioned earlier, a lack of oxygen is one of them, but there are others. For example, you can have low levels of electrolytes like potassium or magnesium in your body, which can lead to the breakdown of the energy gradient, which then leads to the cramping. Another thing that can cause cramping is dehydration, because when you're dehydrated, your body has a harder time delivering nutrients and oxygen to your muscles. One of the best ways to do this is to warm up properly before you exercise and cool down afterwards. This will help reduce the chance that you'll get fatigued while you're re-exercising, because your body will be prepared for the movement. Lastly, some medications can cause muscle cramping as a side effect. I know this sounds obvious, but it's important to remember that if you're exercising outside in hot weather, you're going to need to drink more fluids than if you're re-exercising inside in a climate-controlled environment. Well, turns out there's an interesting phenomenon that happens at night where your muscles are more likely to cramp. We call this nocturnal leg cramps. But I will share with you two theories that scientists believe could be contributing to the cramps. People over the age of 60 are more likely to experience nocturnal leg cramps, as are pregnant women. Also, if you have diabetes or a thyroid condition, you're more likely to experience them as well. The first theory is that your muscles become overstretched at night, causing the cramps. This could happen if your leg muscles are unused to being in a lengthened position for a prolonged period of time. The second theory is that your nerves are misfiring signals to your brain, which then causes your muscles to cramp. This could happen if your nerves are irritated or inflamed. You can do this by eating foods that are high in potassium and magnesium, like bananas, avocados, spinach, and almonds. If you don't like these foods, you could also consider taking an electrolyte powder. The bad news is that they can take a while to go away. In the meantime, you can try stretching your calves before you go to bed, and make sure that you're getting enough potassium and magnesium in your diet. But make sure that you read the ingredients to ensure that it doesn't contain anything that you're allergic to. Also, if you know someone who's dealing with muscle cramps, share this video with them. They might find it helpful. Otherwise, stay tuned for more awesome videos that are all about physical therapy. Calcium helps your muscles contract, but eventually your body runs out of energy and the muscle gets stuck in a contracted position. This is what we call a cramp. And when this happens, there are things that you can do to help speed up the recovery process. For example, you can try stretching the affected muscle or massaging it. Both of these things will help improve blood flow to the area, and this will allow your body to deliver more energy to the muscle cells. Instead of being relaxed, the muscle cell gets stuck in a contracted position. This is when you feel that painful cramping sensation. But before that, let's focus on what actually happens inside your muscle when it cramps. And the weird thing about them is that they often only affect one leg. And even weirder than that, sometimes the cramps only affect part of one leg. So imagine you're sleeping peacefully and then bam, a cramp strikes your left calf. It's uncomfortable, but it goes away after a few seconds. Then a minute later, another cramp hits, this time in your left shin. And again, it only lasts a few seconds. This cycle continues for several minutes, and it can make sleeping very difficult. Now, sometimes this can happen without any warning. Other times you might be able to tell that it's coming on. For example, a lot of people who exercise outside in hot environments are susceptible to cramps. So if you're exercising in a hot environment and you start to sweat a lot, you might be able to predict that you're going to get cramps based on how much you're re-sweating. These structures are made up of different proteins that slide past each other, allowing your muscle to contract or shorten. You might have experienced this before. You're working out, and then suddenly, bam, a cramp strikes. and then you have to stop whatever you're doing. Even worse, sometimes it's not just one muscle that cramps. It can be multiple. So let's say you're running and your calf cramps. Okay, you can walk it off. But then all of a sudden your hamstring cramps too. And then after that, maybe even your quads. When this happens, it can be really frustrating, and it can really limit your ability to perform well. This shortening happens when your nervous system sends signals down your nerves to your muscles, telling them to get shorter, which allows you to move things like your arm or your leg. When your muscle is at rest, it's full of these tiny little structures called sarcomeres. So now let's say you're exercising or playing a sport and you start to get tired. Your muscles aren't able to get enough oxygen because you're pushing yourself harder than normal. In response to this lack of oxygen, your body releases adrenaline, and this causes more of a demand for energy within the muscles. The muscle cells sense this increase in demand for energy, and they try their best to supply it. They grab onto more calcium, which is a molecule that helps your muscles contract, and they make sure that they send out signals for more blood flow to be delivered to the area. But all of this extra activity requires a lot of energy, and unfortunately your body doesn't have an unlimited amount of it. So basically, if I were to give you the super simplified version of what happens inside the muscle during a cramp, it would look something like this. There are several different things that can cause this process to happen. Regardless of how the cramping starts, though, the end result is always the same. Your muscle is stuck in a shortened position. Now, once they start, cramps can be really annoying, and they can definitely put a damper on your workout. Thankfully, though, there are ways to reduce your risk of getting cramps, so that you can keep moving towards your goals. Another way to reduce your risk of cramping is to make sure that you're hydrated before, during, and after your workout. The last tip I'll share with you today is to make sure that you're getting enough electrolytes before, during, and after your workout. Even if you follow all of these tips, though, you may still get cramps from time to time. Now, if you're watching this video and you're thinking, great, this explains why my muscles cramp when I exercise. But what about nighttime cramps? Nocturnal leg cramps are these uncomfortable sensations that happen in your lower legs while you're sleeping. I won't bore you with the details of what happens inside the body during nocturnal leg cramps. Now, there isn't a ton of research on nocturnal leg cramps, but we do know that certain people are more susceptible to them. The good news is that nocturnal leg cramps usually go away on their own. All right, thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like it.